Today I have a guest who has made a huge splash with her renowned handbags, and she's going to talk to us about how to bring an idea right to the shelves, about how we feel about manifestation, working with a big retailer like CVS, and working with international vendors to create a product. Today is Business from Scratch with guest Carmin Black.
You're listening to Business from Scratch, the podcast for people building businesses they love without losing themselves along the way. I'm your host, Abby McGee. Let's get started. Hello, Carmin.
Hello, Abby. Thank you for having me. What an honor.
Welcome.
Thank
It's really
you.
great to have you. And we've just spent an hour catching up. So
We have.
yeah, hopefully we still have things to say.
Might have to pay my meter. To be honest.
No,
I'll have
I'm
to
so
pause
glad
later.
you're here. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're here.
Thank
I
you.
have known you for a gazillion years and have watched you and how your business has evolved and grown and
vice versa.
yeah. But I want to start out by just asking you this. What in the world does it feel like to have a product on the shelves curated by Chip and Joanna Gaines?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you'll relate to this. Do you do this thing that I do as an entrepreneur where you never quite celebrate your wins? You just you
Mhm.
make things happen. Like, I think as entrepreneurs, our sights are always set, at least for me, and
Mhm.
I can very much probably vouch for you in this. My sights are set so exceedingly high
Mhm.
that I can and my team actually used to kind of I will say scold me about this. Like,
Mhm.
it's almost like win, move on, win, move on.
Mhm.
And so have I fully internalized what it means? I don't know.
Mhm.
But I can say that in those brief moments where I'll be in a meeting like with their design team,
Mhm.
and I have not met with Joanna Gaines one-on-one personally. She has a fabulous, very talented team
Mhm.
that I work very closely with, and they'll say, Joanna wants the stitching on this an eighth of an inch, further down from the edge. I'm
Mhm.
like, I love it. I agree. Or Joanna wants us to try, a full grain leather instead of a suede or whatever. It's in those moments where I sit and I'm like, I have to remember that many people don't know who she is. And sometimes they'll say, yeah, I design handbags and I sell them at Magnolia. And they're like, what's that? But many people do know, of course, what this is and what an honor it is. And sometimes I have to remember, like, it was during COVID, actually, Carissa from Tusk. And I talk about this online, but she handed me, one day we were standing outside of the front of my retail store, which is closing tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a minute. But she handed me this book from Joanna. It was like a Joanna Gaines home book. And she goes, I was thinking about you. Carissa is like so notorious for this. If you know her, like, she'll have these like gut instincts and move on them. But she was like, I was thinking about you with this Joanna Gaines book. I want you to look through this. I think you'll feel inspired. And it was like, I took the book from her. And as my hands were on the book, I was like, I'm working with this woman one day. Like, I'm working with Joanna Gaines. And it wasn't like a thought that I wanted to manifest. It wasn't a thought that I had ever had before. But as I took the book, I remember standing in front of my shop thinking, if I say this out loud to Carissa, she's going to think I'm nuts. Well, then 2 years later, I was at a trade show and the Magnolia team walked in. It had been a terrible trade show with like no orders. I had spent thousands of dollars on this booth that like my dad built for me. And he was not very happy about it. He had other stuff to do. And the Magnolia team walk in and they're like, hey, we want to work with you. And I was like, oh, it's happening. There it is. So I don't know. It's like I'm super thankful for it in a way. I hoped and expected it.
Did you create? Sorry, I'm gonna
you're
totally
great.
interrupt you.
You're great. I'm on a tangent
because I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Did you create the product with the thought, with the intent of getting it somewhere like that? Or was this just separate things where you created this project because you wanted to, because you loved it, and then they came along and found it?
Always creating because I love it, and then praying to God that someone like them would find it.
Yeah.
And it's like this wild faith journey you just have to take, I think, as a creative. That is also what I do. What I call this is like applied art, where you're creating, and food, I think, can be this way too. I mean, it really is like this art that has to like live and exist, and people have to like consume. I just was like constantly creating stuff that I'm like, I have a gut instinct this is the right next step, or I really like that silhouette, or I really think that I'm seeing this in different places in the market. I want to make my version of this. And then when they, for example, came in and liked it, I was like, oh my God, that day with the book. I literally thought that the minute I saw them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I hear a lot of people, I have mixed feelings about when you talk about like manifesting things, right?
Me too.
Yeah, because I think there's like something to that, right? I mean, putting what you want or what you believe out into the universe, there's value in that. However, like it requires action. It requires you to do something to get what it is you want or you feel is for you, right? It's not just about like hanging out in your living room hoping that somebody's going to come and say, hey, I want to work with you. Can you make me something?
Yeah.
No, you just did what you're good at. You did what you were inspired by, and then it came back to you.
Yeah, I have this thing that I always say. It's like stretching, not striving. So like, how can I always be, because I don't know that I don't know that I'm comfortable either with this term of like manifesting. To me, and again, like, you know, I'm a person of like faith. So I'm like, I believe that we have this like direct connection to like the creator of the universe. And so it's like, if I can be honest, good, and I try to do this like good, bad, ugly. If I can be honest with what I want, what I think, what I feel, whether those feelings are like the nastiest, like God, I know this is wrong, but like I am freaking pissed about whatever. I feel like we can constantly be stretching ourselves to say like, look, I need to collaborate with you, really. And it's like Oprah says, like, God, dream a bigger dream for me than I can dream for myself, please. Because I'll keep myself just stuck in the mud. And it's almost like I feel like we collaborate and then he brings us things in due time. If we have kind of like done the heavy lifting,
done the work.
Internally, externally, right? You know, it's a weird give and take thing.
Yeah. So I am also so fascinated by it because it's so different from what I do. Like we make food and drinks.
Yeah.
That is a very specific creative endeavor.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it. I minored in not culinary arts, but what is it?
Hospitality.
Hospitality. My parents used to own restaurants, like obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's different than you having an idea for a product, figuring out how to get it manufactured. I have a kitchen, right? If I have an idea, I just go down there and make it. That's different for you. You have to find vendors. You have to find sewers. You have to find the material, and it's so different. So how do you, and with your other product, I mean, you have handbags and then you have a hair tie that's super cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You've done all kinds of things over the years, but how do you take an idea, practicalities of it, logistically, how do you take an idea and get it from your brain onto a shelf? I know there's a million steps, right? But how do you even start?
There's a million steps. And it's so interesting because I did start by hand making. So like in 2009, when my brother Christian and I started Half United, which was our first business.
Did you know that I was a model for you back in the day? Me and my kids.
Stop.
For your Mother's
that was
Day.
Probably through Michael.
Yes, Mother's Day shoot.
Yes. That might have been the first time I met you.
Yeah.
Yes, I know this. Oh, that was Michael's so good.
Yeah.
That was that was still like such an iconic
Well, some of my
shoot
favorite pictures of me and my kids were from that shoot.
Yeah,
so.
You look great. All the moms that we shot
was
look
a long
great.
time ago. Anyway, we got off track.
Yeah, we got off track.
Yeah. Half United.
Half United. So, okay. So literally, I started that company in 2009. I think for like a summer, I was living with my grandparents. Like I was not married. I was 24 years old. I didn't get married till I was 37. So, you know, I was a long ways away for me. And, you know, I wasn't even thinking about that at the time. But I remember I was living in the room over my grandparents' garage. And so I had sort of set it up as like an apartment. And I kid you not, 1 million jewelry making tools scattered from wall to wall. And my grandma, who is very neat and very tidy and very, very put together, came upstairs and she was like, "Oh, Carmen, what is this?" And I mean, it looked like a freaking tornado. And I used to go to Marshall's and buy anything on sale and like take our little bullet necklaces and string them on like wax cords. And the fact that retail stores locally bought this stuff is shocking to me. I mean, I actually ran into Lucy Cherry, or is it Lucy Cherry from Lulabaloo the other day? She's like, "Girl, you have come a long way." Because she was one of my first boutiques, and Catherine Yearwood at Hallelujah was our very first boutique. But so, yeah, I definitely learned by hand making. And then it was a couple of years in, Nordstrom called and was like, "Hey, we want to put you nationwide."
I remember
which
that.
is, I cried. I was like, "Oh my God, thank you." And it was at that point that I'm like, uh-oh, this hand making business is not going to work out. Flew to LA, would meet with manufacturers in person. That led to me learning how to manufacture. Then that led to Haiti. So I was like, if I did this in LA, I bet I could do this in a developing economy. That led to then producing in 8 developing economies and producing 8 different lines of products that we eventually sold like to all manners of all kinds of department stores. And so towards the end of Half United and then the beginning of Carmin Black, the brand, we had about 600 artisans that we were helping to employ in 8 different countries.
Wow.
So it just kind of grows. You sort of just learn. You teach yourself, you learn, you grow. You teach, you learn, you grow. I mean, we've never taken on very hefty investment. So it wasn't like I hired like sourcing, experts to help with this.
You had to figure it out.
Yeah.
You had to find the people and the
Always. Always.
That seems so overwhelming to me.
It's interesting because the more savvy you get with this, the better the manufacturing partners become. Like right now, my handbags that we're doing for Joanna Gaines, those are made in India. I go and I sit in a room for a week with these makers and we go through thousands of leather swatches. I go through every thread color and thickness. And that manufacturer makes bags for like Jason Wu and Eero and you name the famous fashion designers, they're making them. So now it's not as bad because I'm not like schlepping through the leather, I've done this where I've like schlepped through back alleys, like going through thousands of spool of leathers, putting them on my back, walking through the streets. Now it's kind of like, it's a bit more all in one.
Yeah.
Which is like very fancy and very cool. Yeah.
Well, I think the beginning of anything is always super messy.
God, it's messy.
You don't know what the heck you're doing and you just are making it work as you learn.
Sometimes I'll have young entrepreneurs like say, "Hey, will you like mentor me?" I'm like, "Absolutely. I've got you." And they'll come and they'll try and like pretend like they are somebody. I'm like, "Look, let me stop you."
Yeah.
Like, the best thing you can do is be really transparent with me about what you know and don't know because I already know you don't know it.
Yeah. Well,
let me help. Let's start from the beginning. Don't jump steps because you'll wish you had it.
Do you know what was one of the most freeing phrases I've ever heard? Is that the first 5 years is not when you make money. It is when you learn all the lessons. And then after that, you can start making money.
Yeah.
And actually doing something.
That's so, and I think.
And it made me feel so much better about the beginning when I was like, I don't know
what I'm doing.
I don't know. Where do I buy lettuce from? I don't know. Let me find out.
Yeah. And I think like even with my new hair ties, I'm like, oh no, I'm back to square one. Like new industry, new everything. I'm like, okay, I do have those now for me 16 years of lessons. I'm like, all right, I have a PhD in business ownership. I'm like, but yeah, it'll probably take about 5 years before this thing is like bankrolling, to be honest. And I'm like, all right, I've got to stay really creative and nimble because I know through experience it is going to take that long.
Right.
But you do know at least the bones of how to set up a business and how
Totally.
to, so you're not making those fundamental mistakes. You're figuring out a new product, yes, but with
Totally.
so much valuable knowledge to go with it.
I had a meltdown in my kitchen the other day, and my husband works a 9-to-5 job, and he gets like a paycheck, and he does have a commute. And so he came in like crying, not crying, but he came in complaining, as he should, about his long commute that he takes every day. And he's like really upset about the traffic. And I was like, look at this whiteboard. I'm like, do you see these 14 things? This is 14 different people's jobs that I do right now. And I was like, and we went through it. And he's like, oh my God, you do the job of 14 people. I was like, yes, I do. And I need you to know it. And I like really was like having this moment. I'm like, God, this is so embarrassing. But what happens is when you have the experience, I'm like, crap, now I can just do more jobs faster. And I don't actually have to hire those people, because right now the people with my level of experience, I shouldn't really hire, because like I don't have enough for them to do, and B, I can't really afford all 14 of them. So I'm like, crap, now we just can do more in less time. This is tough.
It is tough. It is tough. I've had to challenge myself and just decide that I can't let myself do it all.
Yeah.
I have great, as you do, great teams, and they do what they are better at than I am.
Totally.
So that's always a challenge, but I am so interested in the process of getting a product on the shelf. So
Yeah.
what was other than the obvious different products, like you go from making bullet necklaces and other jewelry items to handbags, which is completely different.
Completely different.
Which one do you love the handbags just because of how much you know now, and the process can be a little easier?
So what I didn't say was our manufacturing facility in India, as fancy as it is, what they do is they go out in like the rural parts of India near where it's based, and they collaborate with farmers who are waiting in between harvest times and kind of like have not as much to do, and they employ them so that they don't basically go hungry themselves to make leather bags. And I find that so fascinating. I'm like, oh my God, we're working with male and female farmers. So for me, I think because, the bullet necklace, for example, was, first of all, I don't own a gun, and I don't, well, we're not even going to get into, I do take a pretty strong stance against gun violence, certainly, because I had to learn a lot about that with Half United's product that we sold. But it was never so much about jewelry as it was about the fact that the bullet represented fighting. And for us, it was fighting hunger and giving meals to kids in need after every purchase. The handbags started in Haiti because we tried to make beaded jewelry in Haiti, and it sort of like didn't go well. And while I was in Haiti, I met this cooperative that they employed women by creating leather handbags. And I thought, well, to me, product design is product design. Like if I could design a piece of jewelry, like I'm wearing some of my stuff today, I can design a handbag, certainly. And so it was more about employing the women. Even in India, it's more about the women. So do I love one over the other? Not really. I love product design because I think I have a pretty natural knack for it. But what I really love is like, who are we helping?
Yeah.
And that's gonna never not be. And like even my hair ties, they are manufactured in one part of the world, and then I have them shipped to India for women to hand assemble our packaging. I'm like, I'll keep it. I'll even keep our production socially conscious in that way. So it's the products are more about, what are we actually doing to help people?
I love that, because that was such a huge part of your first brand, Half United.
Yeah.
And to see that that's continued, maybe not so much in the way you market it, or it's not the same, and yet it's at its core of what's important to you.
Yeah.
Stays the same.
Yeah. Like sales from our retail store, sales from Hairdo, which is our new brand, we donate. And that's not to say like, hey, pat on the back, we're so philanthropic. I think it just is like really, it's interesting because I often feel like, the way we present ourselves can be such a suit of armor. It can make us assume things about people that may be true and may not be true. I definitely love fashion. There's no doubt. But like I always would say with my team at Half United, like if I had to choose between the best fashion and like feeding kids, I mean, we're in the gutter feeding kids all day. So yeah, like that is always in my heart and mind. I want to put it first. I will say when we marketed, fighting hunger, that wasn't always what actually hit with customers the most. So I'm like, whatever, I'll just do it on the sidelines, just knowing it's what we do, whatever.
When you say it, that didn't hit with customers because that was such a huge part of that brand, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think like a lot of times, like the posts that would have like our fighting hunger initiative.
Okay, so the engagement
was always like the lowest. Or it would be interesting because the bullet necklace at a time was like very cool. And I would see this all over town, a bunch of them. And I would see them around town. And like if a clerk was wearing one and checking me out, I'm like, oh, I love your necklace, girlfriend. She'd be like, thanks so much. I love this bullet casing, having no clue it represented her fight against hunger. And so I'm like, wait a sec. I think, and rightfully so, I think customers are coming to us for price and for fashion. And maybe there's a small percentage of that consumer population that's really buying it because of the philanthropic efforts. But like when you buy something, you hope it does good, but like really, what's the better spaghetti or what's the better price on these Nikes?
Wear?
Yeah,
for sure.
So, yeah.
Let's talk about pivoting.
Yeah.
Because you've done a lot of it.
I know.
Over the years. Most entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
But talk to me about how you make big decisions like that to end one thing and start another. How do you know it's time? What are the signs you look for, or what's the inner dialogue that you have to help you figure out when a season is coming to an end? Because a lot of us get so emotionally attached to what we're doing. And the thought of us not holding that, creating that, providing that anymore is challenging. I think about it with my businesses. Like, it's weird to think about it becomes who you are, right? So how do you decide when it's time to shut something down and start something new?
I think, that's a great question. And I think the masterful skill that all entrepreneurs like possess is living and making decision based on gut instinct. Like I think that we have an inner knowing that is heightened. I really believe that. I don't know why that is, but I've kind of always had this, like even since I was a kid. And so these different brands have had different gut instincts that I knew. So one day on a call, I said, listen, if I do this with you, I have one caveat. We have to do it under a new brand name. And because designers use their names, I'm just going to call the handbags Carmin Black bags. Would you guys do it? And they were like, sure. Okay. Anyway, so about that leather.
Not a big deal.
And it wasn't a big deal. And I thought, there it is. Like, that's it. We're just going to go with this.
Yeah. So I love a lot about this story because the decision was easier to make for you for a couple of reasons. Number one, you had another product that you knew you could develop and move on. And you internally had been conscious about not tying yourself to the product, which I think most people don't do. Like that. And it's the same with me. If somebody introduces me, they're going to say, this is Abby. She owns blah,
Salt
blah,
and Charm.
She owns Salt and Charm.
Totally.
She owns
because we're so proud of you and we want people to know that. Yeah.
And we feel so much pressure that our personal brand is so tied to business. And that's important. But if we can't separate that internally, it becomes infinitely harder to make changes.
Even on social media now, I'm trying to let people see the bags under my eyes. I'm trying
Sitting
to
in the floor in your living room with your wife. I saw it.
Yeah, I
I
know.
love
And then
that.
I was like, that was a little extreme. Let me take this down.
No.
But I try to talk to women about self-confidence. I try to talk to them about, and I even talked about it before I came here today. I'm like, ladies, we can't, because for example, I sold my Magnolia handbags in our little cargo district retail store, and they weren't really selling. Well, then we do a 50 to 75% off, and women, a sale to close that store. And women are coming in with like, they've got 10 of those Magnolia bags in their arms, and they're like, I want all 10. And I'm like, but when I thought you guys didn't like these, no one was coming in to buy them. And so this morning on social media, my message is, guys, we cannot get wrapped up in what we think other people think of us or don't think of us. We have got to just trust our guts, follow our gut instincts, and like keep it rolling, you know? Cause yeah, I mean, your identity and admittedly, when I closed Half United, because so much of my identity was so wrapped in that for 15 years, it was crushing to me.
Yeah.
And it took me about a year and a half to not think of myself as that brand.
Right.
Which I'm like, oh, geez, what the heck? So,
well, people still associate you with that. And it was such a cool brand and such a great business.
Yeah.
But I love, because most of the time what I hear, and I say this to myself, you know, there's a balance between having the guts and the strength and the courage to keep going through when it's really terrible, when stuff hits the fan, when it seems impossible. So there's moments that you have to decide, okay, is this a keep going moment or is this a pivot moment?
Yeah.
And that's a hard decision to make, but it takes equal amount of guts to do either option, right? To close something down, shut it down, when you know what that means for how people see you, how you see yourself.
Totally.
And, you know, you want to be connected to your product and your business because it's your life.
Totally.
But you can't let it go so far as where you are shackled to something that needs to go by the wayside.
Needs to go. Yeah.
Needs to go.
Yeah. And I think for me, like it even ran deeper where I just felt like, and I'll say this, the economics of Half United had gotten really challenging. So when we started the brand in 2009, to give a single meal to a kid in need through the UN World Food Program was about 9 cents. So it was real easy, you know, in 2009 to give 7 meals per product sold, sell a product for $35 and still be able to fulfill that promise. Well, by 2022, it was over $3 per meal.
Oh, gracious.
So now we're looking at $21, which means now we have to sell products in the hundreds of dollars to fulfill that promise. And so I felt like in so many ways, I had to like literally come to terms with God and say, you know, I feel that the promise we're telling customers when they buy this product is really, really important, that we're fulfilling it every time. And it's becoming really challenging to do this because we have now had to become a more luxury brand, which was never the point of Half United, in order to fulfill this promise. And I don't think the unit economics are making sense. So honestly, it was also like on a spiritual level where I said, you know, God, I have to be able to fulfill this promise. And if I can't, I really think we need to press on. So yeah. And I'll say, I hope that in so many ways I can inspire women to not be afraid to make those changes for fear of what people will think of them. What I hope is that one day, honey, we are doing so much bigger than what Half United ever was that, you know, people are like, that, what was that brand? You know, and, you know, we are just moving. My goal is to always keep climbing. But even in those moments where it doesn't feel like, I feel like, geez, I'm really on Everest. I can't seem to like scale the summit or whatever. I hope women can look and go, well, shoot, if she can do it, I can leave this relationship, or I can end this business, or I can quit this, hey, or I can quit this job and like go do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. hope they've grasped that. Yeah,
I think you're definitely living that out, and
for sure.
most of the time you don't see that part of
Yeah,
the process.
yeah.
But I have seen it. I have
Cool.
watched you and watched specifically for that,
Yeah,
because I didn't know the backstory and the ins and outs of why things closed or
yeah,
why you did
yeah,
certain things. But I did see that you had a history of pivoting with grace,
yeah.
and that
Thank
doesn't
you.
always happen. So,
Thank you.
and so there's something to be said for, and it's a skill. It is a human skill and a business skill to be able to evaluate something for not only the realities of the balance sheet or the P&L or uh, litigation, but also
Mm-hmm.
your gut. Like those
Mm-hmm.
things work together,
Mm-hmm.
and that is probably one of the hardest skills to learn as a business owner, I think, is how to trust your gut, but also trust the numbers. How do they work
Absolutely.
together,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
hard.
Yes. Because, like in business, like it's okay if for a time you're not profiting.
Mhm.
And in fact, sometimes I think profitability shows a real lack of risk taking. So I'm
Mhm.
like, come on, in the first 5 years, we're not as focused on profitability.
Yeah.
But after that, if this thing isn't actually cash flowing, nah, don't you people. And
Mhm.
I think people stay in so many situations in life, specifically in business, because their egos are going to be harmed if they leave.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yeah.
girlfriend, this
It's
thing
not
is
working.
losing money. I
Yeah.
just had this conversation with an entrepreneur the other day, and she was like, who was that? She was like, this and this isn't working. I was like, well, either your cost of goods are too high or your prices are too low.
Mhm.
She's like, how'd you do that so fast? I'm like, honey, every business is the same,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I'm like, if those two things aren't
Mhm.
running hand in hand, and the profitability isn't high enough,
Mhm.
cut the cord.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, quick 30-second break while I tell you something that made a huge difference for me. I'm literally sitting in the Unfiltered studio right now. This place is a game changer. I knew there was no way this podcast was going to get done at home. I didn't want to deal with lighting, sound, all the other tech and distractions. Now I just prep and show up here. Everything's set up. I sit down and I feel like a total pro. If you're in Wilmington and need a space to record, visit unfilter.io or just search Unfilter Studio on Instagram and see it for yourself. So funny. I was getting my hair done this morning,
Oh yeah, it
and
looks so
every
good.
time I go to get a blowout, I always have these business conversations with the girls that are doing my hair.
Yeah.
And today was no exception. And she was like, "What are you doing today?" And I told her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I just started a business. My husband just started a business. What's the name of the
Are you
podcast?"
like this?
Yes. And so then I was asking her questions about her business, and she was telling me some of the challenges. And I was like, "Well, have you thought about this? And have you thought about that?" And she's like, "No, I haven't thought about this and thought about that, but now I'm going to." And little things that, and I think that's part of the reason why I love to sit in this chair and have these conversations, to let other people listen in, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't even know what you need to know
Yeah.
in the beginning. And so yeah, I learn every day. I mess up every day,
Mess up every day.
every
Every
freaking
day.
day.
Every day.
And I feel like if I didn't mess up every day, I would get to the end of the day and be like, well, what did I actually do?
Yeah, yeah. What was this day for? I'm wondering, in the future we might need to start a consulting business.
I know, for real.
It's not a joke, actually.
No, I have such a heart to help women
Me too.
specifically, but just people.
Me too.
I know the people that helped me when I
Me
started.
too.
And one of the people that helped me the most was somebody that actually booked me to do a dinner party for them. They were friends of mine.
Cool.
And I didn't have a business yet, but they hired me to do a dinner party for them. And it was a dinner party for like 20 people in their
Woo.
home. And I didn't know what I was doing, but of course I pulled it off. And he became one of my closest business mentors, and
Wow.
still to this day is. He calls me once a month, check in, and I ask him questions. If I'm going to do something new, I call him. And I am so grateful for that. And he's not the only one. There were others that stepped in and let me ask the questions and saw things that I didn't see. And, I got a mentor from SCORE and all of these things that
Me too.
Yes. I love them so much.
Me too.
And I would
I
not.
keep my first score notebook next
Yeah,
to my desk.
I know. They're so great. It was such a helpful resource for
Yeah.
me. And so I value so much what other people did for me. And if I can help somebody avoid small things, small things that become big things. So
Same.
I love that.
Same. I know. It's so cool that now we can spot those issues that are coming from like
Mhm.
100 miles away.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're not doing that. I've been down that road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a gift.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's the gift that's the hard won gift that we've been given.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked really about hairdo, but I've seen
Yes.
some marketing for it. You are in
Yes.
CVS.
We are nationwide in CVS with this product. It looks like no big deal. It is a biomass material. So there's no plastic, no latex, none of that. So it's castor oil and sort of like a Vaseline concentrate is how I explain it to people. And the way this came about, talking about like, how do you know when it's time to pivot? So I was in a meeting for Half United with Whole Foods, and the two buyers were women, but they had pixie haircuts, very cute. And I said, do you guys know that in the Southeast region of Whole Foods where we sell Half United, you guys don't have hair ties? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, you don't sell hair ties. They were like, really? I was like, yeah, but you wouldn't because you're the buyers for whole body and you don't need them. So you would never even think to stock them. I was like, if I can invent a hair tie for you, because I was thinking, we at that point had sourcing partners globally and everyone knows everyone. So I'm like, if I could find a hair tie for you that you really liked, would you buy it through Half United? They're like, yeah, sure. So long story short, found a material at a plumbing parts store, did a ton of research, found who the inventor was of this very material that used to be a plumbing part, didn't look like this, but it felt like this. Found the maker or the inventor of this, turned it into a hair tie, pitched it to Whole Foods, and they're like, we love it. We'll put it in, the Southeast region. Well, when I closed Half United, what happened was we had also sold this to about 300 of our like 900 boutiques that we were in. And buyers kept calling, hey, sorry you closed Half United. We're so sad. Do you have more hair ties? I'm like, you guys. So I knew after hearing that over and over and over, I was like, I think I've got something. So long story short was like, I think I'm going to make a second business out of this because this can't be sold under Carmin Black, the brand. I was like, this is so weird. Handbags and hair ties. Like, that's weird. I mean, it's not that weird. I probably should have done it.
It's like selling barbecue at a gas station. I mean, it happens.
I mean, which if that didn't exist, what would a gas station be? So not a good gas station anyway. But so I was like, I know what I'll do. Let me see if I can get this into a proper retail chain, like a real, not Whole Foods. I don't know why I didn't think Whole Foods first. This is so weird because now I'm pitching this product to them again. But I was like, if I can get this in a proper retail chain, because the product price, unlike our $300 handbags, is so inexpensive. I was doing the math, running all the numbers, and I was like, oh crap, I've got to sell like 1 million of these a year for this to like matter. So I was like, let me see if I can get this into a really good retail chain, then I'll know it's my sign, make the brand. Cold called CVS for like a year. Finally, this fabulous, name is Thomas. I love this man. This fabulous buyer that's been there for 25 years was like, look, stop nagging us. Just come to Rhode Island. I'll take a look at it. You can have 15 minutes, like whatever. 3 hours later in a single meeting, he was like, I mean, not 3 hours later after that call.
I was like, that's a fast.
Yeah, I know.
That's a fast trip.
No, went to Rhode Island a few months later, was supposed to get 15 minutes. We spent 3 hours together. He's like, I love this. I want this in 7 weeks. I'm putting it nationwide.
That's amazing.
I was like, no.
Yes, thank you, but also what the hell?
And so here we are, and I'm like starting at ground zero with this little hair tie product. and I think people probably think, God, this woman's crazy. But the truth it really is the best hair tie ever. And it's so much better for the environment than those black elastics. It doesn't break. It retracts on your wrist. And we haven't talked about this part of me, but I'm a sprinter. And so sprinted D1 track in college, 400 meters. As a sprinter, I know what you need in terms of something that holds tight and doesn't budge. And I never had that. Like I used to have to wear a hat every day in practice because I have really thick hair, and my ponytail, because it would get wet with sweat, would be running down the back of my neck, sliding with those stupid hair ties that break. And I'm like, this is going to maybe one day really be something.
So nuts and bolts, like when you have a product like that you sell to a major retailer, what's the logistics of that for you with cash flow? Do you have to provide the product and then they're like a 90-day invoice, and so you have to figure out the funding for that, and then you get paid later? And how do you plan for that? Because then you're probably already having to start manufacturing more. So it probably takes a while to kind of get into a routine where the money makes sense.
100%. And I'll be honest, so it's called Velocity. Many people know this. Many people are like, what is that? But basically,
I don't know what that is, so enlighten me.
So in a major retailer, they have sort of these velocity targets. And what that means is they want to sell a certain number of units per week per store. Okay. So our velocity target is 0.6. So I need to sell less than 1 unit per store per week across all the stores we're in. That actually is not happening. And so I actually don't know if long-term CVS is going to be our long-term partner. Interestingly enough, and I can't talk about it yet, but it has opened the door for me to form a partnership with a very well-known shoe brand that we all know. And so it has served its purpose where I thought, you know what? I know that CVS is a retailer where you go looking for like L'Oreal and Johnson & Johnson. You don't go looking, hey, do you have your hairdo here? Like we're a no-name brand. And they picked us up before we even had a website. I mean, we didn't even have an Instagram. That is unheard of. But they knew my history in the industry. And I swear, I said, I do handbags for Magnolia. And then they leaned in. So it is kind of that thing in this industry where if you can just say, look, I've done it at Nordstrom, I've done it at Wegmans, I've done it at Whole Foods, blah, blah, blah. And now they're like, okay, you know what you're doing. We're not actually hitting velocity. So what this means is I fronted the money. Magnolia's orders paid for hairdo, okay? Because both brands are owned by Carmin Black Incorporated.
Got it.
And so that's how I did it. I funded this through so thank you handbags, and thank you Joanna, because you have now funded yet another business. So we get on store shelves. In some places it's doing really well, and in other places it's not. So likely what's going to happen is the inevitable consequences. We will probably get taken off of CVS's shelves, and I will actually be asked to buy back the inventory that remains. I knew. Now, here's the difference between dewy-eyed me that sold to Nordstrom 15 years ago nationwide and nationwide 15 years ago. Gosh, it's like my brain's moving faster than my mouth. And current me that has now done this 10 times over with Target and Wegmans and all these places. I'm like, I know where this is headed. And the buyers knew where this is headed. They're like, we don't know if this is going to hit velocity. I said, guys, we need to wait a year because it's not going to. And they're like, well, we can't wait a year. We're starting this new program. We've got to just go. I'm like, all right. So probably going to take our hair ties off of CVS inevitably, but what it has done is open the doors to a new partnership that is very cool and will...
Because that gives you credibility because you're in the stores.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now it gives me credibility with if I go to Ulta, if I go to Sephora one day, Target for sure is on my list. As the line expands and we have colors and styles and all kinds of stuff.
Is it more important for them just to know that you are in CVS, or do they ask for
velocity
reports?
Targets? It depends. I think it depends on their goals. A lot of times, like with Target, for example, they love new brands. So they may say, we don't even care about your sales track record. We believe if we get behind you with X marketing and X fixtures and blah, 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 this is going to hit. And they know.
Yeah. And so some retailers will get more behind you than others. So like does CVS do marketing for you? Do they do anything other than just carry your product, while another retailer like Target would put resources behind it?
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
So you kind of have to put up with the first place you put it. Even if it doesn't do well, that's okay, because it opens up the doors for...
Well, it's okay in a way. I know that now what inevitably will happen is I'll burn that bridge with CVS. Until we really grow and we're like a Johnson & Johnson, they are not likely to bring us back. What I am doing, since, we're talking real business, I'm now talking to a different buyer at CVS and saying, look, here's the deal. Your current clear hair ties are absolute trash, and you know it. And I know it. And millions of women every day keep buying them. Don't think we like them. We don't have another choice.
Right.
So I want a private label for you. I want this product in a different shape and size to be your clear hair tie. I want you to put your brand name on it. It's my product. And I'm going to save you from putting trash out in the world. Literally, you can recycle this. And you're now going to get to give customers something that's patent pending and is like much better for them as consumers.
I've heard that story so many times. On other business podcasts that are books that I read, and people who create products specifically who go into retail locations. That's like a consistent story. I had to call 500 times.
Yep.
I had to show up on their doorstep. I had to get really annoying.
Yep.
It was the only way to get them to pay attention to you.
Like, to put it into context, when I tell this dewy-eyed story, like Magnolia came into my trade show booth and they were like, we want to work with you. What I'm not telling you is for the next year on every single video call, they'd say, Carmin, we love the sample you sent us. It's too expensive. We're not going to move forward. All right, well, what do you want and what price do you want then? Then I would redevelop. Then they would come and say, well, Joanna saw it and she didn't like it and it's too expensive. All right, well, what do you want? And then I would redevelop it. And then I would fly to India for 3 weeks. And then I would redevelop. And then I'd fly to India again for 3 more weeks on my dime. And so it's like, it wasn't like they're like, oh, we love you, come work with us. It was like they felt that way initially. Then they backpedal, then I push, then they backpedal, then I push. Then like a year and a half later, we land.
Yeah.
And I pray to God it sails.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the real truth of what this is.
Yeah. This kind of thing takes a lot of... You have to have
tenacity.
You have to have the intestinal fortitude. You got to have the gumption.
I know, you've
to
got
get through it.
So much grit, and then show up online like, this is so fun and cute. It's not fun and cute. I'm like exhausted.
When you have found yourself in a place where you were facing something new that you had not faced before, or a challenge that you had not faced before, are you the kind of person or the kind of business owner that figures it out on your own, or do you go looking for somebody who's been there before to help you?
It depends. If I think I know somebody that's been there before, I'll go searching for sure. But a lot of times when it comes to like the fashion industry, I don't have... I think I kind of muscle through, to be honest. I muscle through. Yeah, I used to always go knocking. And I'm like you. I tell some of my mentors, I mean, I'll cry when I talk to them. I'm like, guys, you don't understand. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't still be standing. Like you told me how dumb certain things were, or you taught me, when I didn't know. And I won't say nowadays I face everything I face that's challenging I sort of had been through before, but to a much higher degree now. I'm like, I've faced this before. I know what to do. But yeah, I mean, if it was certainly something totally new that I had never faced, I would certainly go and find somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. when you first started having to like reach out and have manufacturers overseas, was that a time where you had to find somebody who had done it before who could make connections for you, or did you make your own connections?
Let me think. When I very first went from hand making to manufacturing partners, I leaned a lot on friends who had done that before, and that was in America.
Yeah.
So I am good friends with the founder of a company called the Giving Keys, Caitlin.
Yeah.
And that was just because we both had sold on Tom's Marketplace years and years ago, when Tom's thought that they were going to like have this like social good marketplace online, and they flew all these founders of social good brands in, and we all got to meet each other, and then we've all sort of stayed connected, which was such a blessing. So in that instance, they gave me some tips about jewelry manufacturers in LA, and I literally would drive in a rental car and go door to door and meet with people. In India, I'm trying to think, how did I originally do it? Well, that was actually a really weird story. I had developed some samples for Half United years and years ago with some manufacturers in India. And I think I leaned on, but sorry, those manufacturers had reached out to us saying, hey, we saw your company. We do this or that. Would you like us to make some free samples for you? And we're like, sure, here's a little idea. Fast forward, I had gone to source a manufacturer and realized the best one in India that I found was a very manufacturer that years ago had actually reached out to me. So that was very weird, very serendipitous. Oh, and then another Indian manufacturer, my first manufacturer in India that I found at a trade show. It was a guy selling his family's, he's still one of my dearest friends now. His name is Ruru. I'm very close with his family in India. But he was selling these beautiful rugs. And I said, hey, I know you sell rugs and they're gorgeous, but I've got these handbags I need to make. Could you do this? And in India, I love the way they do business because they're like, yeah, I can do it. So that's how I first got introduced to India, was through a trade show contact. Yeah.
I love too the kind of the thread I see through most businesses, but especially ones that are creating products or providing a service, is the network of people that you need to be successful, and having the vision to be able to recognize those connections, to find the connections, to nurture them, because they all have to come together, right, to create this thing that you have in your head. And it's not just you, it was in your grandma's attic for, a while.
Yeah.
But then after that, you have to be able to find the right people and nurture them. The vendors that I use for different things, they become my family because we talk so much. And, I need to know who you know. I'm doing this new thing. Who do you know? I need a new chef. Do you know anybody for me? And like, those connections are so valuable. And I cannot even fathom what that looks like when you are international, where you are having to have connections in India and Haiti and LA and all of these places where you have to, bring them all together in order to be successful and create this hair tie that's on your wrist.
Okay, one thing that is really okay, and I don't know if it was like Dale Carnegie or who said this quote, but it's basically like, if you don't know people, you don't know business. And that doesn't mean if you don't know the right people. So through all my travels in all these places, I'm like, one thing is for sure, all of us are more alike than we are different. For sure. We all have the same wants, needs, desires. However, every culture is so different. So the way that I do business in Haiti and the way I'm like willing and dealing and, like I know that they're lying to me like the first 4 times and then we sort of land on the truth, is a different way than I do business in India, where negotiations, negotiations is everything in India. I mean, you will battle back and forth. And then being a woman in India, that creates a whole new can of worms in doing business there. But then when I have done business in Japan, I could never speak to these business people in Japan the way that I speak to very prominent business people in Haiti. Like, the level of honor and respect that you have, and it doesn't mean you don't honor and respect people in Haiti, but if I talk with honor and respect in Haiti, you'll just get walked all over.
Right.
Whereas in Japan, if you don't do that, like they will very politely never email you back.
Yeah.
But this is so funny because yesterday I was literally at Savard Beer and Board, and I was, we're hoping to do an event there. Mark your calendars on December 6th that you would love to attend, and I hope you do. But I was thinking, oh my gosh, here I am, because Emily Barless and I went to middle school together. She's now Emily Savard. And right? Or is she now Barless and she was Savard? I'm confused. Maybe she was Emily Savard. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I'm standing in Savard Beer and Board and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I had been mean to Emily in 8th grade, there is no chance I could have sent that email and gotten the response back same day that I wanted and I needed. And I literally thought, like, do not burn the people bridges.
No.
Like, if I could give anyone advice, those people that you don't like or that you never thought you'd see again, they come right back around. And I always loved Emily, so that's not a great example. But it's just, even on a local level,
Well, you never know what you're going to need, who you're going to need to talk to. Well, and you kind of should be the way we live anyway.
Totally.
But even more so beyond just human decency and being kind to each other. It's a business tactic. Just be nice to people.
Yeah.
And, I've lived in Wilmington for so many years. And so I feel like I know everybody. I don't even know half the people.
I know. I feel like I know everyone too. I know.
Yeah, I don't. But, I just think about all the ways that, those people have come back around in my life and I've needed them or needed to ask them a question or a favor or needed a resource and a referral, things like that. I have a business. My main business now is so wrapped around who I know and who they know and who those people know. And my business is a referral business. So,
And you know what? I don't think I always appreciated this as much when I was younger. I think there were times where I was pretty hyper competitive. And you kind of get what you give. Now it is my joy to love on people and give. And I was always giving, but I can say on a heart level now, it's like my joy to give that upper hand and help and love. And I just am like now in a place, thank God I got here, where I'm like, I know that what you give is what you get. And you don't give goodness or kindness to get that, but you are going to get that in response. And I certainly early on, I was, I'm like, I am, there's still that D1 track athlete in there. Like we're on the starting line, like, yeah, I'll see you at the finish line. There's a little bit of that. But it used to be worse.
Yeah.
And now I'm so thankful that edge has been softened. And now instead at the starting blocks, we can high five and go, see you at the finish line.
That's definitely a result of maturity and years.
The hard knocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Experience.
I'm very grateful for that. Yes.
Yep. Well, one last question.
Okay.
First of all, I'm so glad you're here today.
Same.
I've learned
Thank
so much.
you.
But if you could recommend one podcast or book to our listeners, what would it be?
Okay, I can do both. Podcast, How I Built This with Guy Raz. My favorite. You will learn everything.
Yes.
You just don't even go to school. No, do go to school.
It's my favorite.
You'll learn everything. And I probably left the copy in my car, but business book, Good to Great.
Yeah, that's
read
a good
it,
one.
follow it, copy it. Yes, you
Love
will.
that.
You will be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And where can people find all of your things?
Okay. That's a great question.
If they're not
in Texas and can't go to Magnolia, where do we find all your things?
Exactly. Okay, carminblack.com. And it is very soon, in like 2 weeks, going to be Use Hairdo, DEUX. And do means two, because these bad boys can last up to 2 years.
Love that.
Usehairdo.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yay.
And on socials and everywhere, the same thing.
Yeah. Hairdo by CB, which really probably should change. And then at Carmin Black, the brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. This
Thank
has been
you.
so awesome.
I know. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you
I
for
learned
having
so much,
me.
and it was great to see you and
Same.
talk about all the things.
I'll probably see you more now that I'm not across the street.
I know.
Like out.
I know.
Yeah,
Thanks,
cool.
Carmin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Business from Scratch. Follow the show for more honest conversations about building a business that works for you.